What's going on, World Report family? Your boy C Dub here, joined by none other than Dylan Lark of the College Loop podcast, here to do a pregame of the Iron Bowl showdown between Auburn and them, as Ike affectionately would like to refer to Auburn's rival as. We refer to them today. Dylan, how are you feeling, man? We're here. Regular season finale. Auburn is on the road in Tuscaloosa to face off against Alabama. It's been a whirlwind of emotions over the past few weeks. But there seems to be this renewed hope for Auburn fans. And interestingly enough, Dylan, I'm in the Birmingham area. There's a lot of pessimism from Bama fans in terms of this game. A lot of them aren't feeling good about this game. Auburn fans are. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I've been on record saying I'm probably weirdly confident about what I think Auburn can do in this game, and a lot of it comes from how Auburn played last week versus Texas A&M. Of course, we did talk about how they skipped out of the third and fourth quarter for a bit, and A&M came back. But getting that win, no matter how many overtimes it took, no matter how late all of us were up watching it, it gave a lot of hope for Auburn going to this game, especially because as that game was going on, Oklahoma was putting an absolute beat down on whatever Crimson Tide is. And now you're going to this game, both fans, different headspaces. Auburn fans, a little confident that they can get this done. You even got some players, DeMarcus Riddick, Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, so on and so forth. Eugene Asante calling out Jalen Milroe on Instagram story earlier this morning. Bama fans aren't feeling the same way. And, I mean, I've already been on record saying I think Auburn's going to win this game. And I can't tell you how confident I am in that, but I'm confident enough to have that be my pick.
Okay. Yeah, Dustin from the Uptempo Pod, he predicted an Auburn win. Mike G on Wednesday when we did the midweek report, he predicted an Auburn win. We're going to do some predictions in a minute. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the outcome here. But I think that Auburn is in a really good space going into this game. Obviously, Auburn has a lot of players from the state of Alabama. So they understand this rivalry. And I think that's something that also plays into a lot of the trash talk that we've seen from some of these guys. These are in-state guys chirping at other in-state guys. So these are guys who, again, Ryan Williams was expected to be a part of the 2024 recruiting class. Probably even told the guys he was coming to Auburn, did not, obviously. And so again, there's a rivalry now between those guys, and so they're going to talk. They're going to talk some trash. A little different from me, but it's interesting to see how that plays out. Ike did a facts or nah on yesterday, and what stands out to me, two things, Dylan, and this is one of the things I want to talk about in terms of keys to this game as we get into it. Auburn is averaging 28, just under 29 points a game, 28.8 points a game. Bama is averaging 36.2 points per game. But when you look at the total offense in terms of average yards a game, Auburn is above Alabama at 432 yards a game. Bama is 419. What this speaks to me, Dylan, is that Auburn has had a lot of opportunities moving the ball, but aren't unable to finish and sustain drives. And this has been a bugaboo, particularly in the second half, as it pertains to Auburn needing a play to get them over the hump. When you look at the Oklahomas, when you look at the Missouris, when you look at the Vanderbilts, those games where Auburn's right there aren't able to get it done. We saw some hope of that last week against A&M, where Auburn was able to get it done. What do you think the key is to sustaining what we saw last weekend against Texas A&M at home on the road against Alabama?
The key here is the run game for Auburn's offense. Because if you look over to the defense, Alabama's defense is 63rd in the nation when it comes to stopping the run. And that's been Auburn. And of course, you have more yards passing the ball, which you're probably going to have if you're a decent enough offense. But with Jarquez Hunter, you have an X factor. And of course, we've seen the X factors all over the place with Cam Coleman, Keandre Lambert-Smith, so on and so forth. But this game has to be decided through the run game for Auburn. The biggest thing that Alabama has struggled with all season long has been the quarterback run. Jackson Arnold, who I wouldn't really classify as a dual threat guy, but can be a little mobile, had 130 yards last week. You talk about Diego Pavia, able to extend a lot of plays with his legs. able to take down Bama doing that. And of course, I'm trying to remember who the third loss was that Alabama had at Tennessee. Nico Iamaleava was able to extend a lot of plays with his legs. So you have Jarquez Hunter, who's going to be your workhorse guy, but Peyton Thorne, despite having to probably pass for a little bit more, probably a little less than usual this game, because Bama's secondary is really good, but when it comes down to what Auburn needs to do to win it offensively, you got to run the ball with Jarquez and with Peyton Thorne.
I think the key here is Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne, this is it. This is why you came to Auburn. You get to leave Auburn doing something that hasn't happened in over a decade. But you got to make some critical plays in the second half. We've seen Peyton Thorne look amazing in first halves. And to his credit, he made an amazing play, a couple of amazing plays at the end of the game against A&M to force it into overtime. Auburn's going to have to see Peyton Thorne make some plays in the second half. He's the key, because I agree with you that Jarquez is going to be a big part of today's game plan. This is his last regular season game. I think he's going to get his fair share of carries. I think they're going to go to him early and often. Obviously, there's a weakness with Bama. Bama's averaging 143 yards allowed per game on the ground. They're vulnerable against the run. They can be run on. I do expect them to go to Jarquez, but again, when the game tightens up, and I expect it to be a tight game down the stretch, Peyton Thorne has to come through and show his experience and make some plays. Make a throw, make a good run, make some good decisions with the ball. Don't turn the ball over. Auburn has to win the turnover battle in this game. Auburn can't be loose with the ball, which means Peyton Thorne has to continue to build off of what we saw him do against A&M. Let's talk about let's talk about some receivers for Auburn. Cam Coleman has come on strong in this game. Obviously, in this season, Keandre Lambert-Smith has just been a steady guy. He's really close to being 1,000-yard receiver. Who needs to? Obviously, you want both of those guys. But what do you expect this game plan to center around, and who do you expect to really have a breakout game from the receiving corps?
Honestly, I think Malcolm Simmons can really shine in this game, because you're gonna have the focal points of this passing game is going to be Cam and KLS, and the defense is going to know that. So Malcolm's going to be your jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife kind of guy who's going to take your end rounds, your jet touches, your quick outs, and all that stuff. You need him to get open in space, because Malcolm is, I believe, one of the fastest players on the team. I think Bryce Kane is just slightly faster than him, wide receiver wise. You got to have Malcolm Simmons in this game. And I'll even go further than that. You need Rivaldo Fairweather, who we'll probably touch on a little bit, who he basically got cleared to play this game because he's off the availability report. You have to be able to get the ball in the middle of the field, because if you play too far to the sidelines, Bama's going to start getting aware of that, and they have some really good safeties who can make quarterbacks make mistakes.
Yes, I agree. And obviously, he has factored in to the game plan. That was a point late in the season where Malcolm had more receptions than Cam did. Obviously, Auburn has kind of reversed course, and Cam has become a big part of the offense for good reason. And he has definitely rewarded the coaches for making that pivot. But I expect Malcolm to get the ball in space and for them to do some things with him that we've seen. Again, he's dangerous when he gets out in open field. So if they're able to catch him running across the field, middle of the field, they're able to get him on a slant route, he can be devastating for defenses once he gets out in the open. So good call there. You mentioned Rivaldo Fairweather, who was listed as he was on the availability report earlier this week. He has been cleared. He is expected to play in this game. I expect him to be a big part of this game. He's been one of Peyton Thorne's favorite targets, especially when I talk about these tight moments that Auburn has. This guy right here usually ends up with the ball in his hand, or at least targeted. So I do expect to see a Rivaldo Fairweather sighting in the passing game. I do expect him to get a key catch in this game, or catches in this game. He's going to be very important. So you got those four guys, and those have been pretty much your steady guys here. Getting to some of you guys' comments because I think they're relevant for this conversation right here. Oda Smith says, "Look for Robert Lewis to shine today." So he's mentioning Robert Lewis here. Lawrence Robinson is pretty much echoing what you and I just said. Malcolm and Valdo need to make a couple of plays, and really and truly, in the games we've had success. Those guys have been a part of the game plan. So I do expect to see Malcolm out there. There will be some plays for him. And I just expect Valdo to just be one of Peyton Thorne's reliable targets for the past 2 years to step up and make some plays as well. So I agree, Lawrence, 100% with that. When we talk about let's go ahead and make a pivot, Dylan, and let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. When you look at what Bama is able to do, they actually average 181 yards, almost 10 yards more than Auburn per game in terms of rushing. Obviously, Jalen Milroe, who's Bama's leading rusher, factors into the run game. We did a facts and awe talking about Auburn's ability to limit Jalen Milroe to under 2 yards per game. I think a more interesting stat is in Tuscaloosa earlier this season, South Carolina came into town and they limited Jalen Milroe to 2 yards per game average carry. I think he rushed 18 times for 36 yards. May have gotten sacked in there here and there. I think they may have counted that, but he averaged 2 yards per game, and Bama barely escaped that game. What do you think? Obviously, he's the focal point of this offense. He's the matchup, right? He's going to be the key for Bama. Obviously, DJ Durkin is expecting to limit him. He'll be spied. But what do you think Auburn does in terms of how they limit his effectiveness in terms of running the football?
Yeah, South Carolina was able to do that with one of the best defensive lines in the SEC. That's one of the reasons South Carolina's been on this run. And while they're currently only down by 4 to Clemson as we speak, they're able to get to the quarterback very easily. Auburn needs to do that. Keldrick Falk, Jalen McLeod, Philip Bleedy, Malik Blockton, every single lineman known to mankind on this Auburn roster needs to be able to get to the quarterback. But this game might end up falling into the hands of a true freshman here in DeMarcus Riddick because, fastest linebacker on the team. Auburn utilizes him more than anything when it comes to stopping dual threat quarterbacks. He was a big key to keeping Marcel Reed in the pocket later on in the game. But you got to make Jalen Milroe pass the ball on you. The biggest thing with Milroe is his ability to get the ball down the field. Now, I've never been big on Milroe as an NFL draft prospect, but outside of running, his second best trait is his deep ball. But his weaknesses, all 3 of his interceptions versus Oklahoma happened between the line of scrimmage and the first down marker. One of them happened behind the line of scrimmage. You have to force him to make mistakes. You have to get him to read his second guy or his third guy. And that's when you start getting those mistakes. If you take away the deep ball and force him to stay within the pocket, you'll get Jalen Milroe to throw some interceptions.
We did a facts and nah, and I think Ike and Dustin both said nah on limiting him to be under two yards per carry. I don't expect Auburn to do that either. I will be impressed and excited and amazed if Auburn does achieve that feat. But I do think that even if he averages over 2 yards a carry, you can still limit him in a way to where the running game isn't as effective and this Alabama offense can sputter throughout the game. So I do think that Auburn limits him. It may not be as impressive as what we've seen other teams that have been able to do so throughout the season, like the Tennessees, like even South Carolina has done. But I do think Auburn can limit him. That brings us now. You mentioned downfield passing. Bama's leading receiver is Ryan Williams. So let's talk about this matchup. I expect Ryan Williams to get his. The issue again, because Auburn is actually outgaining Bama as it pertains to pass yards a game. Auburn is averaging 260, Bama's 238. You expect Ryan Williams to get his. To me, the key here, other than limiting Jalen Milroe on his legs in this game, is not letting other receivers go off. in addition to Ryan Williams. Try to limit him. Don't let Ryan Williams go off, but limit the other receivers. No one else needs to step up and have a breakout game. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, the big thing with Bama's passing this season, it's been between Jeremy Bernard or Gurmy. I don't know how to pronounce it. Jeremy, that's what I'm going to say it. And Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams has 840 yards, 200 less than him is Bernard. That's really been the 1-2 punch there with Bama's wide receiver core. After that, Kobe Prentice hasn't really had that big of a year. Kendrick Law, I don't even think has really played all that much. And then you have tight ends who both have around 200 receiving yards each. So what you're looking here for Auburn's defense, you're going to be looking at your young corners to kind of shut down Bama's down the field passing. You also need the safety help. Bama very rarely attacks the middle of the field. Very rarely attacks those intermediate passes. They're trying to get the ball down the field quickly. That's something that kind of hurt them against Vanderbilt. They scored too quickly, and Vanderbilt was able to take advantage of that. And that's where a lot of their mistakes come down to. So when it comes to stopping Ryan Williams, you're looking at Jaron Thompson. You're looking at I'm blanking on safeties now. Caleb Harris and Sylvester Smith. Those three have to be on their A game and not let any of these receivers get behind them. And of course, Jay Crawford, he made a mistake versus Noah Gray last week. Gave up a big touchdown gain trying to jump a ball and try to get an interception. Got a little too greedy on that one. You can't do that. You got to keep these guys in front of you. You have to make a play before they can, because Ryan Williams, just as advertised, one of the best playmakers in the country.
Third down defense. This is the key. This is it. Auburn has to figure out how to get off the field and not allow Bama to extend drives. This is it. If Auburn's third down defense doesn't show up and do its job, it could be a long day, Dylan. It could be a really long day. I'm looking for Auburn to actually step up and do a good job in this today. But this is key. This is going to be critical because, again, you're talking about certain things going right for Bama, playing to their strengths, Milroe making plays, Ryan Williams making their offense is working if they're able to extend third down. They're even able to convert on third down. To me, that's the key. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, you look at what happened last week. Auburn not able to get off the field at all on third downs. They were just letting and A&M had that 9-minute drive, and you would hope like every touchdown drive would take that long, but it didn't. But for Auburn, you gotta keep an eye out, because if you keep Bama in third and short gain, and you're gonna have Jalen Milroe is gonna tear you up. If it's third and long, they're gonna try to go deep on you, and that's the key to their defense. But you need this Bama team to start panicking. And you can do that by forcing them in 3 and outs, forcing them to make those mistakes. Because if you get Jalen Milroe just a little bit antsy, you can get the ball back pretty quickly. That's one of those keys I think Auburn can really do in this game. Is that's something whenever this Auburn defense is on, they're annoying. They're an annoying defense to deal with when you're an offense. So looking at this game, you have to get off the field on third down. You cannot get tired. I understand Auburn has a deep defensive front, able to switch guys in and out, but your secondary can't do that. You got to get off the field because you got to make sure this Bama offense can't attack you up top.
Before we move off of this, Bama is top 20 in the nation in third down conversion percentage, right inside the top 20 at 19. They convert 46% of the time on third down. So Auburn has to hold them under that even. I'm saying somewhere in the 30s. That's acceptable. We'll see how that plays out. Again, Auburn has been very charitable there, so you hope that Alabama doesn't go off there. Pressure on Jalen Milroe. Obviously, Auburn has done a good job of getting to QBs and disrupting their timing. What do you expect to see from a pressure standpoint today? Who goes off? You mentioned DeMarcus Riddick, whose objective is to just wreck stuff. But who else do you expect from that defense to really begin to pressure and really collapse that pocket and really disrupt Bama's timing today?
And I'm going to go back to another freshman here. Malik Blockton's going to be big in this game. You got to get through the middle because Keldrick Falk has had a great year all year long, but after a while, the offensive lines have started getting prepared for Keldrick, start taking him out of the plays, double teaming, all of that. So what you need here is you need your interior defensive line to go off because Bama is going to try to run the ball with Justice Haynes and Jam Miller as well. You got to get pressure from the middle of the offensive line. That way you got to try to force Miller to go around the outside, and there are your linebackers. There's Keldrick Falk. There's Jalen McLeod. Everybody's there waiting for him. You got to get to the middle of the offensive line, and I think Blake Blockton is going to do that today.
Special teams. Does special teams become a story of this game? What are your thoughts there? I know we've talked a lot about how not so special teams has been this season. Any surprises there? I think Malcolm Simmons has exclusively been returning punts, fielding punts, I should say, at this point. But in any expectations there? I know so I've heard some people say they expect Malcolm Simmons to return a punt for a touchdown. But what do you think about special teams? Is it a story today? Field goal kicking, is that going to be a story today?
I mean, would it be an Iron Bowl without the special teams being some kind of storyline going into it? You're looking at Ian Vachon. I know you want Malcolm Simmons to get a punt return touchdown. I would love it for it to happen, but very rarely does that happen in just football in general. I think more likely you're looking at can Ian Vachon go toe for toe with a former Lou Groza Award winner, because this game might come down to field goals. It might. You got two decent defenses and two offenses that have been known to be very spurty on when they're good and when they're bad. So Ian Vachon is going to be the big ticket item here for Auburn, as well as, Oscar Chapman had a bad game last week. Cannot have that again. Right. You cannot give any kind of field position that is in any way positive for Bama in this game. So you got to make your kicks, and you got to get the ball off your foot. Perfect.
Yeah, like we can't be talking about special teams. Like, if special teams isn't a story, then they've done their job, right? Unless they're making explosive plays or positive plays. But yeah, I don't want to see shank punts. I don't want to see field goal kicks out of bounds. I want to see them going through the end zone. No fielded punts or fielded kickoffs. I want to see special teams actually get the job done, and I think that we will have to kick a field goal here and there. So, Ian Vachon, what a year you've had. You may be asked to make some critical kicks in the biggest game in the state, and you just got to Auburn. What an opportunity. Take advantage of that. Take extreme advantage of that. So I look forward to seeing how special teams performs in this game today. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to our predictions, and we want to hear from you guys, and we'll get to some of the comments real quick. But Dylan, you go first. What are your thoughts on this game? Who wins the Iron Bowl?
It has been since 2010 that Auburn won a game in Tuscaloosa. It has been since 2019 that Auburn has beaten Alabama. In the year 2024, I'm taking the Auburn Tigers in this game. I said my score is 31-27. I like the Tigers a lot in this game. And I spent all week trying to make this prediction. I was watching every single preview video on YouTube. I was reading every article I could possibly find, but nothing can stop it. I might be booging, and if I am, it's terminal, because I got the Auburn Tigers today winning it, because I hate Alabama with every fiber of my being, and I'll be dang if I pick them to win this game right now. I hate what even is a Crimson Tide. I don't even know what that is.
I mean, I do, but it's stupid. I mean,
it's dumb.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that. But anyway, I was actually leaning Bama much of this week. I think some of the bug has gotten to me. It's the last game of the year. Let's just bug on out. I got Auburn winning. Susan actually has my score. Did I start? No. I actually have Auburn winning 24-21 in a close one, in a close game here. So we'll see how that prediction pans out. But I just think this team feels really good. And this is a team that has been in every game, even the Georgia game. They have played well on the road, Dylan. That has been the surprise this year. So I don't expect Auburn to lay an egg in this game and not show up. Um, the Nick Saban effect is gone. That's another thing. I think that's another thing that gives me optimism in this game is there was a time, Dylan, like you just knew Auburn's going on the road to Bama and Nick Saban's on the sidelines. I don't feel good about this. He's gone and there's Kalen DeBoer. That gives you some renewed hope in terms of what Auburn's opportunities are. You have a changing of the guard in terms of the talent and players on this team to where they talking trash with their chest. They talking loud, and some of these guys can back it up. Some of these guys show up ready to eat and ready to play. I feel good about where Auburn is right now. It's good to see a team 5-6 have this type of confidence and belief in themselves going into this game, an important game. Go out here, man. Let's get to 500. Let's go ahead and get to a bowl. Let's go. Let's go. So let's see how that plays out, man. Let's get to some of you guys super chats and comments before we get out of here. Oda Smith says with the $2 says this one is for number 21, Brian Betty. Beautiful story here. Reunited with the team this week. Great timing, man. An amazing story. It's good to see Brian Betty alive and well. And yeah, let's go win one for number 21. Fire Freeze says Mike G out there partying with Gumps. Pretty sus. Oh, man. He just got some Bama friends. That's all. Oda Smith says we record 4 sacks today, maybe 5 and forced 3 turnovers. Wow. That's major. That's major if Auburn does that. But again, I've been impressed with how Auburn's been able to get pressure on some of the mobile quarterbacks. Last week against A&M, we were able to get to the quarterback. So I'm curious to see if that translates and travels with this team on the road to Tuscaloosa. I do think we do disrupt Jalen Milroe, but if we can get him on the ground, even better. If we get turnovers, 3, as Oda predicted, even better. Oda Smith comes back and says the Chronicles of Riddick chapter 1 begins today. I like it. I like it. Brad Browning says, unfortunately, we don't have the defensive line that South Carolina has. And I would have to agree. However, I do think that you can still limit Jalen Milroe, like we've done a lot of mobile QBs this season. You can limit him. It may not be under two yards per carry, but you can limit him in a way to where he's not gashing. His play with his feet isn't a story in this game. It's not a factor in Auburn's offense working in this game. Making him one-dimensional, staying in the pocket, and beating Auburn with his arm, to me, I think that's the game plan that I think DJ Durkin goes for. It'll be interesting to see his strategy, his game plan, and how the players go out and execute. All right. And Ohio State laid another egg. Wow.
Are they losing?
Yeah. So, anyway.
And Clemson lost.
They did. I predicted that. I knew South Carolina was going to beat Clemson.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I knew they were going to beat them. But so we're seeing some teams go down at home. So will there be another? Let's check it out and see with this Iron Bowl. We will be back here behind the paywall. Green Name Game. We will meet up to discuss the halftime show. You definitely want to be there to hear our thoughts. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. And we will be back for the post game once this game concludes, win or lose. You have been watching the pregame. Enjoy the first half. We will see you at the half. War Eagle.